Hello, everybody. This is Michael from Space Consulting. This is actually going to be a business oriented one, particularly aimed at medium and large businesses. All right, let's get into this one. So, with the transportation crisis as it is right now, how the hell do you secure a solid workforce and get them to keep showing up? Okay. The reality is, I think the future in terms of what companies are going to have to offer, I think the best choice you could probably make as a company is to start doing your own transportation service as a benefit. All right. Don't have your workforce relying on Uber and Lyft, but actually setting up as part of the benefit structure, actually setting up a bus service essentially where you round up all your employees, get them on the bus, bring them up to the place of operation, manufacture, wherever it may be, whatever it may be, and regularly, keeping company shuttles moving where you're bringing people to work, taking one shift out, bringing one shift in, and repeat and repeat and repeat. Honestly, that's probably the most stable option, and that is a benefit that people would actually like. All right, mostly because it takes the bulk of the pressure off the workforce to have to pay through the nose to each maintain their own vehicles that are increasingly difficult to maintain. They're too difficult to maintain. They can't be maintained personally. I mean, what was that? I think Hyundai. Hyundai. Hyundai being the perfect example. You need an app to control your brakes. That's good. That's good. You need an app and you need to jump through all these hoops and no. No. Um the cost of keeping cars running now is too high. The cost of maintaining them is too high. Getting them too high, maintaining them too high. Long term usage, unfeasible. On the other hand, especially if you hire in a specific area, if you were to do company shuttles that brought people to work and back, all right, whether that was centralized to an internal company bus route essentially or not, um, it's a benefit that most people would take. They would take advantage of that because it gets them out of a car payment, it gets them out of higher insurance, it gets them out of all the maintenance costs. So your workers get to not just keep more of the money, but they eliminate the headache. All right. The headache of having to deal with keeping a car running, especially anything modern, gets wiped out completely. All right. So naturally, just based on that, you're going to have a happier workforce. All right. You're going to have a more stress free workforce. Now, if you are particularly the more dark or evil side of employer, it also gives you the opportunity to really get people by the balls. All right. Now, believe me, I know this is very unprofessional, but I know a certain amount of you out there are sitting there looking for more ways to control your employees. And yes, I'm doing the Mr. Burns hands. All right. It does give you the opportunity to screw workers over like that, although I would not recommend it. Regardless, company shuttles, you can write off the vehicles, creates jobs. So, at least on the local government side of things, also helps. You're creating jobs for drivers. You are eliminating a lot of the costs that your workforce has to bear, the silent costs of participating in the economy. You get happier workers because of it, workers with more disposable income. Touching on the darker side of it, you could also use it as an excuse to pay people less. But honestly, if you found a happy medium, you could probably find people that would be willing to accept that. All right. It is the way of the future at this point, with just how low a quality most of the vehicles are. Taking that weight off of people, especially in more urban areas, more, centralized labor stores. Yeah, it is the smart option going forward. Um, I see this a lot with companies, particularly in the rural areas where they're constantly complaining about the everybody when they sign up for the job ticks the box that yes, they do have access to reliable transportation, not including getting a ride from their parents every day or getting dropped off by a friend or coworker. Okay. But the reality is, all right, and this is one thing that migrant labor does have on the domestic labor supply. Migrant labor is all packed into the same houses or the same apartments or the same complexes. So they tend to all ride together. Also creates a perfect opportunity for them all to have an excuse to go home if whoever drives is going home for the day. Okay. Um, which is it is a boon to the employees, but for the normal domestic workforce, trying to keep all the cars running. I mean, if you're lucky, it's every 3 months. Every 3 months, you have to consider as a business, you have to consider letting an employee go because their car shit out. All right. One, that's terrible when you have to do it. Um, it's also very bad for branding and future hiring because word gets around and it gets around pretty quickly. When you are put in a position where you have to let somebody go because their means of getting to work and back is gone or, damaged long term, where if they need a fix from the dealership, it's a dealer part, their normal mechanic can't get it, can't deal with it, you know, you could be waiting on a dealership for months before they can actually get someone who actually knows what they're doing to show up and fix it. All right. Like a perfect example, one of the cars that I'm thinking of right now, um, they would legitimately have to fly somebody in to work on it. All right. It's not a particularly special car. It's not a special brand. It's another mass market vehicle. But because everything is software coded, every part is software paired to the main computer system, um, and because of the complexity with the modules and everything else, to actually get this vehicle fixed by the dealership, it would take 2 months and it would likely cost over 2 grand. Your workers increasingly can't afford to bear the cost of transportation. All right. And especially when you look at the younger generations, there is almost none now. All right. From what I've been seeing, the sub 25 age group, none of them legitimately have reliable transportation that will be able to get them to work and back for an entire year, let alone 6 months. All right. The smart choice is to turn a company shuttle service into a benefit of the job. And then it takes out a lot of the problems that come from worker provided transportation, that come with worker provided transportation. It's just the right way to go at this point. But that also assumes that you have a deal with the dealership so you can get priority service and you have the capacity to make it happen. Also makes things slightly easier because, you know, assuming that people sign up for that benefit, you have the added bonus of knowing the call offs even earlier. Assuming, people didn't call off a day ahead or, a couple hours before. It gives you a solid expectation. All right, how many people are actually showing up to work today? Just fucking chime in, call in to the shuttle driver. All right, how many people are actually coming in today? Well, we got 16. Cool. All right. We're short 8 people today. Well, you know the deal. Get out there and work. You know, consider it moving forward as an option. Regardless, I know this is not the most professional way to be, but it is the way I'm going to be. All right. Regardless, this has been Michael from Space Consulting. I will see you next time.